is a conversation that I got to have with Becky Masterman. She's a beekeeper out of Minnesota, and she's coming here in February to do a couple talks for our WHPA spring meeting. It was a really fun conversation. She talked about some of the topics she's going to be discussing at the meeting. If you're interested in coming to the meeting, it's on February 22nd, 2025 at the store here in Rhinelander. If you're interested, check out our Instagram, our Facebook, our website, or give us a call to RSVP. Please ignore the crunchy speaker sounds on the back of the video. That's just my computer speaker and I can't do anything about it. So without further ado, enjoy Becky Masterman.
There we go.
That's what I was listening
to. Now it's on. All right. So you're coming up here in February to talk about bee things. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into beekeeping and what made you want to start with it and yeah.
Sure. So it was, oh boy, over 30 years ago. I was I was at the University of Minnesota, an undergraduate, and I decided to add a biology major, and I ended up getting a job in entomology, and I ended up taking an entomology class, and we visited a bee yard. And it wasn't even Marla Spivak's bee yard at that point. It was Basil Fergala's bee yard. And it was just before Marla was hired at the university. And as soon as I saw those bees, I became absolutely fascinated with social behavior and social behavior of insects. And so when Marla was hired at the university, she needed an undergraduate, and my job was ending in another lab. And so I spent a year as an undergraduate with her and then started graduate school the following year. And so that's where my bee journey began. So I spent my 20s studying honeybees and doing a PhD on honeybee behavior. And then I left bees for a while and came back in 2012 to run the bee squad for the University of Minnesota. I saw devastating changes in bee health from the time I was an undergraduate and graduate student to 2012. And I couldn't believe how sick the bees were. And so I spent 6 or 7 years with the bee squad, spending a lot of time working with beekeepers, trying to convince them the importance of managing for the pesky varroa. And I think we made some traction. I think that beekeepers are on board with managing that mite. But then I retired from the university, where I now just work part-time supporting Katie Lee. And I do a number of other bee things, including run my own apiary. So
wow,
that's a long answer to how I got started.
Yeah, I know. It's great. It's wild how bees never seem to be anybody's like, they never, I feel like it doesn't, for a lot of people, it just kind of happens to them. Like they just get a little taste of it and then they're like fascinated and they're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, this is so interesting. And then it just like takes over your whole life and it takes a place you never thought.
And it's interesting because it takes over your whole life in different ways. So I was always fascinated with their behavior. And I didn't actually own my own bees until 2013. I always managed research bees.
Yeah.
And never been a big fan of honey. But once I got my own bees, I started producing a lot of honey and started just absolutely loving the beekeeper aspect of it, of having my own colonies. So
yeah,
it's all in.
There's a wide range of stuff you can do. Like, the different things you can get into. You can take so many different paths in the beekeeping world. Like, I was born into beekeeping. I couldn't have even not chosen it if I wanted to. And for a while, I thought I would just kind of leave beekeeping and I was planning on working in food service. And now here I am. Now I'm talking to beekeepers.
It's kind of close to food service too.
It is, yeah.
So
there's a surprising amount of overlap. So in February, when you come to talk, you're doing 2 talks. You're doing one about, I'm trying to remember now, was it health or behavior?
So
Something like
it's
that.
it's actually it's called Minding Your P's and Q's, and
Yeah.
it's based upon a monthly article that I write with another beekeeper for bee culture, and it's trying to tie behavior to management. So a
Okay.
lot of times we learn what to do, but we maybe don't understand why.
Why?
And sometimes just knowing a little bit more about really the social behavior of bees or their population biology can give you a little bit of a heads up as far as when you're making management decisions. So that's that talk. It's kind of a lot of it's a tips and tricks talk with a gentle amount of research and biology in there, I think.
Yeah. I think with anything, not just with beekeeping, I think it's really important to know why you're doing something and not just how to do it. Like, it helps you have such a wider understanding of how to do it better when you know why you're doing it in the first place.
Right,
So
right.
that's really cool. I think that'll be great. And then the other one you're doing is on queens, right? They're drama queens.
Yes. It's called Drama Queens.
Yeah.
And that talk it's a lot of fun because we are actually in a position where we're, as beekeepers, obsessed with queens, right? And now there's kind of a crisis across the country. And regardless of whether or not queen health is an issue, queen management always is, because as beekeepers we're always looking either for the queen or evidence that she's there, and so there's a lot of drama and excitement. And then when you add in the fact that despite everybody's best intentions, we're having problems with queens surviving or high levels of supersedure, we have to be prepared to handle it. And I think that the problem is that the way we learned how to manage queens in our colonies is maybe based on old information, where we used to be able to throw a queen in there and say, have at it, and then it'd still be there a couple of years later. And that's not necessarily the case these days, especially with just all the threats of varroa and all that the bees are challenging. So so that's so Drama Queens goes through both just management issues and how to address them, and then a little bit of let's think about, are we in a different place with queens, and do we need to message them differently? So whether you're a beekeeper or you're somebody who's teaching beekeepers, I think there's a message in that talk for them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm hoping, our class is for members of the Wisconsin Honey Producers Association, but it's open to anybody, people who keep bees, people who don't keep bees yet, people who are interested. And I think this will be really, really good for them, because it'll really help us, just encourage us to get a really good grasp on our bees and why we're doing what we're doing and how to do it better.
Right.
And I'm really excited to hear it, because it sounds like you do a really good job explaining it in a way that it's easy to understand. Like, I've been a beekeeper by trade. I don't spend a lot of time out with the bees, so I don't know all those little details yet. I have yet to learn them, but I'm really excited to kind of hear more about it and gather more information on it. That's super fun.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to it. Wisconsin, although I'm not from Wisconsin, both of my parents were from Wisconsin, so I'm definitely Wisconsin adjacent in my heritage.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect. That's good enough. Well, thank you so much. I think that'll be good. If I go any longer, I have to make multiple videos on Instagram, and that's such a mess.
Fair enough.
So,
all good.
Well,